Chapter 1636. The only person she could find now was Di Dao. Lu Ruoxuan's current concealment ability was extremely good. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the 5 great clans' patriarchs to not notice her tracking. Therefore, she quickly sneaked into Di Dao's cave residence. At the moment, Di Dao was talking to a man in black. "Master, there are more and more people searching the Alcade branch. Although it's hidden, it can't be hidden anymore." Di Dao's eyes were bloodshot, and his face was ferocious. "I promised those bastards from the Alcade branch so many benefits to move out of that corner, but they didn't want to. Master, what should we do now? If this is exposed, Chief Meng and the others will not let it go." Di Dao gritted his teeth. "Everyone is watching the Alcade branch. It's too late to stop them. Also, the Sword Master asked us to look after his lost. This can't be hidden for long. Damn it, do the heavens really want me dead?" "Right." He suddenly thought of something and bit his nails nervously. "How's the experiment going? I've gotten so many test subjects from the school for you. Is there still no progress?" The man in black looked troubled and scared. "Master, we've found a way. But those test subjects are too weak. They can't even fuse before they explode. Useless. Useless. You're all useless." Di Dao kicked the man in black hard. Then, his expression became more and more terrified. "No, I can't do this. I can't die like this. I have to complete the experiment so that Master won't punish me for losing the sword. He might even let me go to the Purple Cloud realm. Ha, ha. By then, what's the secret of the Alcade branch? What's the Starry School?" Thinking of this, Di Dao immediately rushed to an oil lamp behind him. He grabbed the oil lamp and turned it left and right. Soon, the stone wall behind the house cracked and a tunnel appeared in front of him. Lu Ruoxuan waited for Di Dao and the man in black to enter the tunnel before jumping in through the window and following them. Di Dao and the black-robed man's speed was very fast. When Lu Ruoxuan entered the passage, the two of them had already disappeared. She could only feel her way forward, and soon, she saw many stone rooms. There were several stone beds in each of the stone rooms, on which lay monsters that were beyond recognition. Some of these monsters had a face full of scales, some had a tongue as long as a lizard's, and some had 7 or 8 legs. All of them struggled and howled on the stone bed. Lu Ruoxuan was shocked by the scene in front of her because the cries of these monsters and their expressions were too miserable and painful. It was as if they were experiencing the most miserable purgatory in the world. Suddenly, the scaly monster closest to her suddenly widened its eyes, its body twitching violently. Then, with a loud bang, his entire body exploded. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Even Lu Ruoxuan's body was splashed with several pieces of flesh. From the monster's broken body, a black ball of light rushed out and flew straight towards Lu Ruoxuan. Chapter 1637. However, after taking 2 steps, several men in black rushed out and pressed him to the ground. Di Dao strode out of one of the stone rooms and looked coldly at Lu Ruoxuan on the ground. "What are you doing? You didn't notice that someone broke in?" The men in black trembled and knelt on the ground. Di Dao sneered. "Forget it. Let's just take it as one more experiment subject. Put the flood dragon beast soul that just flew out into her body." "Yes, Master." Hearing this, Lu Ruoxuan immediately thought of the monster that had just exploded and screamed in fear. "No, no, no, no. I don't want to become that kind of monster. I don't want to die. Dean Jai, listen to me. I know where to find a carrier that can bear the flood dragon beast soul. Yes, yes, I know how to achieve the heavenly flood dragon's lifespan. Just at the moment of life and death, Lu Ruoxuan suddenly pulled out a memory from Mei Xian's memory. She immediately grasped at the life-saving straw. Di Yudeo's expression changed greatly. How do you know about the heavenly flood dragon's lifespan? In the cultivation continent, there was a kind of 9th-rank spirit beast called Changjiao. This kind of spirit beast had a very big characteristic, which was its longevity. All Changjiao had a lifespan that was 100 times longer than ordinary people. Even a high-level practitioner who had reached the crossing calamity stage could not compare with the Changjiao's lifespan. The so-called longevity of the flood dragon was to put the soul of the Changjiao into the body of a cultivator below the gold core stage. If this cultivator could bear the soul of the Changjiao and fuse with it, if the practitioner could bear the soul of the Changjiao and integrate with it, then the flesh and blood of the practitioner would become a panacea that could make him immortal. No matter how old the practitioner was, as long as he took the human flesh and blood that integrated with the Changjiao, he would be able to rejuvenate and live for at least 1,000 years. Most of the Xiuzhe in Azure Blue World did not know about these secrets. Because the Changjiao was a 9th-rank spirit beast, powerful and rare. Even if there were people in the Azure Blue World who yearned for immortality, they did not have the ability to obtain the soul of the Changjiao. However, it was different in the Ziyun domain. There were many old monsters in the Ziyun domain who were at the leaving aperture stage or the crossing tribulation stage. They were slowly approaching the end of their lifespans, but their strength was unable to break through and ascend. Thus, for the sake of survival and greed, many people came up with all kinds of evil means to keep themselves young forever. Mei Xian used men as cultivation vessels to absorb their profound qi. That was one way. The heavenly flood dragon longevity was also a method, but the heavenly flood dragon longevity had very high requirements for the carrier of the Changjiao, divine soul. If the soul of the Changjiao was placed in the body of an ordinary person, the body would not be able to withstand 2 souls at all. In the end, the body would explode and die, or become a monster filled with killing intent. In Lu Ruoxuan's mind, the image of the young man she had met today appeared. Just as the young man approached, she sensed the instability of his divine soul and the uniqueness of his physical body. If there was anyone in this world who could withstand the heavenly flood dragon's lifespan, it would definitely be his physical body. Ha 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 ha. Lu Ruoxuan suddenly burst into laughter. Her face was twisted with indescribable joy. The heavens have indeed treated me well. I am the true favored child of the heavens. So the reason why I went through this experience today was to let me discover this point, ha 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 ha. Chapter 1638. What are you laughing at? Hurry up and tell me, who told you about the heavenly longevity Jiao? If you don't tell me the truth, don't blame me for being impolite. He he he. Lu Ruoxuan doesn't care about his threat at all. She hooks up the corners of her lips and sneers, you don't need to know how I know. What if I tell you that I know where to find the best carrier for the heavenly longevity Jiao? And I guarantee that as long as you catch this carrier, your experiment will not fail. What did you say? Di Yudao suddenly widens his eyes, quickly tell me, where is that carrier? Lu Ruoxuan touches the wound on her face that still hurts to the bone. She sneers, I can help you catch that carrier, but you have to give me enough male cultivators. Moreover, I want you to promise me that after it's done, you must make Jun Mayan and those bitches of Yaoguang branch die without a burial ground. Xiao Bao has been following Mu Yan around for several days. Wherever she goes, he sticks to her. Mu Yan also puts almost all of her experiences on him. Every day, she takes him everywhere, buys him new clothes, hugs him to sleep, and plays the zither for him. The martial uncles of the Xiaoyao school can't wait to circle around him, sending him all the good things for him to choose from. Xiao Bao feels that this kind of life is simply too blissful. But gradually, he still feels that something is missing. That night, after Mu Yan bathes Xiao Bao and puts on his pajamas for him, she sees Xiao Bao grabbing the hem of her clothes. After a long time of awkwardness, he softly says, "Nyangqin, that person." "Mu Yan, which one?" Xiao Bao blushes, and his voice is like a mosquito. "Dad, where's Dad?" After Xiao Bao came back, "I haven't seen Dad." At first, he was very happy to find that the lecher wasn't by his mother's side. Because in this way, he would be able to dominate his mother. However, day after day, the lecher still hasn't appeared. Xiao Bao's heart starts to panic. Could it be that Dad doesn't want him and Nyangqin anymore? No, it can't be. Otherwise, when Xiao Bao was so uncomfortable, he wouldn't have felt Dad's breath. Dad definitely won't abandon Nyangqin and Xiao Bao. Mu Yan stares blankly. Meeting Xiao Bao's nervous and expectant eyes, she can't help but smile. Don't look at how Xiao Bao and Di Mingju usually don't get along. When the two of them meet, their noses are not noses, their eyes are not eyes. But in fact, Di Mingju has never turned his back on Xiao Bao. Even when Xiao Bao was in danger, he was able to save Xiao Bao across the distance between the two worlds. And Xiao Bao is even more so. Don't look at how he always quarrels with Di Mingju. In fact, he has long regarded Di Mingju as a father in his heart. Occasionally, she sees Xiao Bao looking at Di Mingju with eyes full of reverence and yearning. That was the sense of security and trust that only his father could give him. It was a feeling that no matter how hard she, as his mother, tried, she could not make up for. Mu Yan carries Xiao Bao in her arms and kisses him on the top of his head. Does Xiao Bao miss Daddy? Xiao Bao awkwardly stays silent for a while before he buries his little face in Mu Yan's arms and softly says, "N." However, his little head quickly lifts up again, and he looks at Mu Yan with a bit of nervousness and expectation. "Nyangqin, doesn't Daddy know that Xiao Bao is back? Why hasn't he come to see Xiao Bao? Does Daddy not like Xiao Bao anymore?" Chapter 1639. He always knew that Di Mingju wasn't his biological father, and he also heard those people calling him a bastard. So, even if he appears strong and cold on the outside, he's actually afraid in his heart. He's afraid that Di Mingju will dislike him and not like him. Little fool, how could that be? Mu Yan smiles gently. Daddy likes Xiao Bao the most. If he knew that Xiao Bao was back, he would definitely rush back to see Xiao Bao. It's just that Daddy isn't on this continent right now, so he doesn't know that Xiao Bao has returned. Xiao Bao nods, not really understanding. Mu Yan suddenly remembers a certain someone saying that they would get married after finding Xiao Bao. She can't help but hesitate for a moment, then asks, "Xiao Bao, do you like Daddy?" Xiao Bao's eyes flash, he raises his chubby little hand, his thumb resting on his index finger, and whispers, "A little, like." After that, he feels that it's not enough, so he moves his thumb back, his voice even quieter, a little more than a little. When he says this, his delicate little face is cold, but his ears are red to the neck. Mu Yan is simply melted by her son's adorable appearance. She hugs him and kisses him several times. She asks again, then, "Does Xiao Bao want Daddy to become your real daddy?" Xiao Bao blinks, his long eyelashes fluttering like little wings. "Does Nyangqin want to marry Daddy?" Mu Yan smiles gently and nods. In this way, Xiao Bao, Nyangqin, and Daddy will become a real family. Does Xiao Bao like it? His big aqua eyes suddenly light up, like stars in a summer night, shining brightly and projected into the tranquil deep sea, dazzlingly beautiful. Xiao Bao's cold little face seems to be brimming with lively happiness in a flash. But very quickly, his two little eyebrows wrinkle. But, does Enchanting like daddy? If Enchanting likes, then Xiao Bao likes. Enchanting doesn't like it, Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao also doesn't like it. Mu Yan's breathing slightly stagnates, and her heart instantly feels sweet and sour, as if it's soaked in warm honey water. In this life, she has Xiao Bao, Di Mingju, and a family that dotes on her, protects her, and loves her. She really has no regrets in this life. Yes, Enchanting likes your daddy, very, very much. Before the people from the Phoenix Sky Academy left Constellation, they made a trip to the Arcade branch. Xing Danqing grinned and said, Z is a student of our Phoenix Sky Academy after all, and his time as an exchange student has come to an end. It's time for him to return to the Phoenix Sky Academy with us. The people of the Arcade branch were all stunned. If Xing Danqing had not mentioned it, they would have forgotten that Su Zi was from the Phoenix Sky Academy. Su Zi frowned. I don't want to return to the Phoenix Sky Academy. I want to be with little Missy. I've decided. I want to transfer to Starry School. Z, don't mess around, Xing Danqing said with a straight face. I've already let you be willful and let you go to the Starry School as an exchange student. A few days ago, someone in your family asked me about your situation. If something happens to you after you transfer to Starry School, how am I going to explain it to your family? Su Zi sneered, they asked about me. They should be eager for me to die. Xing Danqing was about to lose her temper, but Mu Yan stopped her. Can't you let Z stay in Starry School? Chapter 1640. Although he's sent here, if something were to happen to him in the Azure Blue world, neither Feng Tian nor Xing Qin would be able to bear the responsibility. Xing Danqing smiled, if Miss June really cares about Z, you can come to our Feng Tian Academy to visit him. Of course, it would be even better if the people from your Arcade branch could transfer to our Feng Tian Academy. This meant that there was no room for negotiation in this matter. Su Zi's usually gentle and innocent face was filled with anger. His eyes were icy cold. Big sister, didn't you say that you wouldn't abandon me? Are you going to go back on your words and give me away? Bang! An explosive pellet hit his head. Mu Yan said angrily, what do you mean give me away? Do you think you're a commodity? Su Zi rubbed his forehead and stared at her with red eyes. His expression was unusually stubborn, you just want to chase me away. From that pair of clear eyes, Mu Yan saw a strong sense of unease, loneliness, and fear. This child seemed to be used to being abandoned, but craved warmth, so his whole body was filled with insecure stubbornness. She smiled faintly, you really can't stay here. You have to return to Feng Tian Academy. Su Zi's face instantly twisted, his eyes even leaking a bit of hatred. However, Mu Yan's next words made him suddenly widen his eyes, but, I will tell Dean Xing to let you stay for another 7 days. In these 7 days, I will cure your illness. Su Zi's lips trembled, he almost couldn't believe his ears. Big sister, what did you just say? Cure your illness. Isn't this what I promised you? Mu Yan's tone was indescribably calm, but it was like a sudden clap of thunder in Su Zi's heart. In fact, I have been preparing to cure your heart disease for the past few days, but it was delayed because of the Jasper Forest gathering. Su Zi looked at her anxiously and hopefully, Big sister, are you saying that my illness can really be cured? Mu Yan stared unblinkingly into his eyes, without the slightest bit of hesitation or evasion. When have I ever lied to you? I can also cultivate and fight like a normal person in the future. Yes. I won't die before I'm 25. Can I live a long, long life? Yes. Tears rolled down Su Zi's cheeks without warning. The sparkling tears made the mole at the corner of his eye even clearer and more dazzling. Su Zi suddenly reached out, wanting to pull Mu Yan into his arms. Little Missy, thank you. Thank you for giving me a new life. Thank you for never giving up on me and giving me new hope. However, before Su Zi could touch Mu Yan's body, he was pushed away by a strong force. Xiao Bao hugs Mayan tightly. He turns his head and coldly glares at him. You're not allowed to hug Nyangqin. Only Xiao Bao and Daddy can hug. Mu Yan looked at her jealous baby, and was not annoyed at all. Instead, she burst out laughing, and bent down to pick up Xiao Bao. Ever since the conversation between mother and daughter that night, Xiao Bao has been talking about Di Mingju, his father, more and more. Even her most beloved mother was only willing to let her father hug her. She just doesn't know what happened to Di Mingju in the end. Why hasn't he appeared yet? Chapter 1641. Thinking that his illness would be cured soon, he was so happy that he could not contain himself. After hearing Mu Yan's explanation, Xing Danqing shook her head. Miss June, I don't know what kind of miracle doctor you know. But Zi's illness cannot be cured. Do you know how many famous doctors there are in the Purple Cloud realm? The Su clan has invited many, but none of them succeeded. Do you think that the doctors in the Azure Blue realm are better than those in the Purple Cloud realm? However, Su Zi insisted on staying in the Alcade branch for another 7 days. Xing Danqing could not dissuade him and could only ask Lu Jinhang to stay behind to take care of him. She also asked Lu Jinhang to bring him back to the Fengtian Academy within 7 days. No one thought that something could happen in just 7 short days. Mu Yan had everything prepared to treat Su Zi, but she still lacked a few spirit herbs. These spirit herbs were not particularly rare or precious, but the amount needed was huge. She had to purchase them from many shops in various cities to prepare them. Mu Yan handed the task of purchasing the spirit herbs to Fatty Zhang and Jiang Xinyu. The two, #1 fans of God Yi were so happy that they danced with joy after receiving the task. They had been busy collecting the spirit herbs for the past 2 days. Jiang Xinyu was busy putting the collected spirit herbs into a Qinquan bag before heading to the next city. She heard the clear voice of the youth behind her. Can I go with you to purchase the spirit herbs? Jiang Xinyu turned around and saw the handsome Su Zi. Her eyes brightened immediately. However, before she could speak, Fatty Zhang leaned over unkindly. What are you going to do? Don't you know that you are now under the protection of the Starry School and the Fengtian Academy? If we bring you out and something happens to you outside, won't we have to bear the consequences? Jiang Xinyu quickly elbowed him. We're just going to Tianluo City to purchase spirit herbs. What can happen? Junior brother Su has been locked up in the Alcade branch for the past few days. Isn't he bored? What's wrong with bringing him out for a walk? Hearing this, Su Zi's already clear eyes brightened. His handsome face became even more attractive. In reality, he wanted to give little Missy a gift before he left. However, after rummaging through all his storage equipment, he felt that none of his belongings were worthy of little Missy. However, he was not familiar with the few towns near the Starry School, so he wanted to ask Jiang Xinyu and Jing Xiaopang for help. As soon as Jiang Xinyu saw his handsome face revealing a cute smile, she held her chin and was infatuated with him. She agreed without any resistance. Jing Xiaopang was so angry that he could only sulk at the side. In the afternoon, the weather is unusually sultry. Mu Yan comes out of the space after practicing her Shen musician skills. She is somewhat breathless. At this moment, she saw little Fatty Jing angrily walk in with a bag of elixirs on his back. Little Fatty, what's wrong? When he saw Mu Yan, his eyes reddened. He stuttered and hesitated for a long time before Mu Yan understood what he meant. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. It turned out that Jing Little Fatty, Jiang Xinyu, and Suzy had gone to collect spiritual herbs. In the end, Jiang Xinyu was obsessed with Suzy the entire time. She circled around him, completely ignoring Zheng Little Fatty. In a fit of anger, Zheng Little Fatty ran off on his own. Chapter 1642. Jiang Xinyu, that heartless woman, she only knows how to giggle when she sees Suzy's face. Bah, what's the use of a good-looking man? Can he protect her? Can he give her a sense of security? The seven brilliances in the space heard this and immediately felt indignant. That's right. What's a pretty boy? He's not as good as a mighty and sturdy man. You women are so short-sighted. Mu Yan pressed her forehead, thinking, Ancestor, please don't join in the fun. Then she patted Jing Xiaopeng's head, but couldn't help laughing. Who was the one who bullied Jiang Xinyu with the people from the outer courtyard? Who was the one who stood up for Lu Ruoxuan and stripped Jiang Xinyu in public? Now you actually have the nerve to say that she ignored you. Zheng Xiaopeng was stunned, his fat face suddenly flushed. At that time, I don't hate her at all. She wouldn't remember what happened back then and bear a grudge against me, right? Mu Yan looked at him stuttering, almost biting his tongue, and couldn't help but laugh out loud. It seemed that Jing Xiaopeng had fallen in love with Jiang Xinyu. As for Jiang Xinyu, this girl actually only liked good-looking men. So when she first saw her martial uncle, she was infatuated. Later, when she saw her in men's clothes, she fell in love with him. Now, when it came to Suzy, she also threw Jing Xiaopeng to the back of her mind. But that was only pure appreciation of appearance, not true love. It's just that Jiang Xinyu and Jing Xiaopeng didn't know it. Mu Yan looked at Jing Xiaopeng up and down, and said with a faint smile, You really want Jiang Xinyu to look at you? Even like you? Jing Xiaopeng's face turned red, but he still nodded shyly. It's very simple, as long as you can get rid of this fat on your body, maybe Jiang Xinyu will look at you in a different light. Jing Xiaopeng's facial features were actually quite good, but he was too fat. His whole body was covered with fat, so it covered his delicate features. If he could slim down, well, it would definitely be to Jiang Xinyu's liking. After teasing Jing Xiaopeng, Mu Yan went to continue preparing for Suzy's operation. However, at night, Suzy and Jiang Xinyu didn't come back. This time, the entire Yaoguang branch, including Lu Jinheng, couldn't sit still. Everyone went out to search. Zheng Xiaopeng even mobilized the entire Starry School's outer house to search along the road from Tianluo City to Yaoguang branch. However, there was no trace of him. There's a strong ominous premonition in Mayan's heart. This premonition reached its peak in the early hours of the next day. Meanwhile, the people from the outer domain finally found Jiang Xinyu in a secluded cave in the Danyang mountain range. The moment she sees Jiang Xinyu, Mayan feels as if her brain has exploded, almost making her unable to breathe. Xanu! Zheng Xiaopeng screamed as he lunged over, grabbing the ice-cold naked body. His entire body trembled violently as tears rolled down his cheeks. Xanu! 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 How could this be? Who could it be? Who did this to you? He saw Jiang Xinyu lying naked in the muddy cave. There was not a single part of her body that was unharmed. His 10 fingers were all broken, and the place where the black eye was originally embedded was now empty, leaving only a bloody hole. Chapter 1643. However, when she opens her mouth, she can only see a mouth full of blood and a tongue that has been cut in half. Ah, ah, ah. She opens her mouth and makes a hoarse and mournful sound. Her body keeps convulsing, as if she wants to say something, but she can only make meaningless sounds. Mu Yan quickly pushes Jing Little Fatty away and takes Jiang Xinyu from his arms. Healing talismans and elixirs are fed to her as if they cost nothing. However, as the talismans burn on Jiang Xinyu's body, the spiritual power completely collapses, unable to condense in her body. Mu Yan's hands begin to tremble uncontrollably, and her cold fingers almost can't hold Jiang Xinyu's pulse. Jiang Xinyu's dantian and meridians are destroyed. Therefore, her body can't even bear the spiritual power. Naturally, she can't accept talismans, elixirs, or even the Tian Mo Qin's treatment. Nyang Qin. Xiao Bao nervously grabs her sleeve, looking at her worriedly. The other people of the Xiaoyao school look at this scene with sorrow, but also worry as they look at Mu Yan and Jing Little Fatty. Jing Little Fatty's cold hand firmly grabs Mu Yan's hand, asking in a hoarse voice, You are the omnipotent great god Yi, aren't you? You can save her, can't you? Mu Yan closes her eyes, bending down to pick up Jiang Xinyu, saying hoarsely, I will save her. However, just as she is about to carry Jiang Xinyu back to Yaoguang branch, Jiang Xinyu suddenly struggles violently. Then, her whole body rolls to the ground. Xinyu! Jing Little Fatty cries and rushes over, wanting to pick her up. Xinyu, let's go home, I'll carry you home, okay? It's all right, let's go home together, okay? Jiang Xinyu desperately shakes her head, opening her mouth to say something, but she can only make hoarse sounds. Her face shows despair, as if her heart is dead. 2 lines of bloody tears fall down from her empty eye sockets. This scene makes everyone who sees it feel sad to the point of despair, so painful that they can't breathe. Jiang Xinyu makes sounds, suddenly using her bloodied and powerless hands. She sticks a talisman on the ground, and shakes it hard. Mu Yan suddenly thinks of something. She reaches out to grab her hand, gently not touching her fingers, and softly says, Are you looking for Yi Liangqin? Jiang Xinyu's face brightens, and she heavily nods. Mu Yan held back the urge to cry. She hugged her and said softly, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you the truth. I'm Yi Liangqin. Sorry to disappoint you. Jiang Xinyu leaned against his chest in a daze and shook her head lightly. Her face that was covered in blood actually revealed a loving smile. She seemed to be saying, I'm not disappointed at all. In my heart, Goddess Yi is just like you, omnipotent, beautiful, and powerful. Suddenly, her face changed, and she let out a hurried, sound. Her hands kept waving, as if she wanted to say something, but she couldn't. As she moved, the wounds on her body split open, and blood mixed with dirt seeped out. It was a ghastly sight. Jing Xiaopeng's eyes were already swollen from crying. He hugged her tightly, wanting her to stop moving. Xanu, stop talking. Let us bring you home first, okay? However, like crazy, Jiang pushes him and uses Jiang. And she and uses with of she. Chapter 1644. Blood cuts through the skin on her hand, but she doesn't feel it. Save. Su. Z. E. It's. Lu. Finally, her body no longer has any strength, and she softly falls down. Zheng Xiaopeng shouts, throwing himself at her and holding her in his arms, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, Xinyu, why did I quarrel with you in the afternoon? If I had accompanied you, I could have always been by your side to protect you. I'm sorry, it's all my fault, why did I have to leave your side? Wah. Xinyu, my Xinyu. Mayan and the others bring the unconscious Jiang Xinyu back to the Yaoguang branch courtyard, and carefully treat her wounds. However, even with Mayan's medical skills, she's still powerless in the face of such a scarred Jiang Xinyu. Zheng Xiaopang stays by Jiang Xinyu's side, not willing to leave even a step. Every time he glances at Jiang Xinyu's wounds, he can't help but let out a low stifled cry. Mayan and the others leave the room. Hearing the sorrowful cries coming from inside, their mood becomes indescribably gloomy. Luo Yu's eyes are red, gnashing her teeth. In the end, who is so deranged? To actually use such a cruel method to torture a woman. Chu Moli suddenly says in a low voice, Jiang Xinyu wrote the word blue. Junior sister, what did you think of? Mayan's eyes are as dark as water, surging with monstrous waves. Lu Ruoxuan. What? Lu Ruoxuan. Ling Yuma says in disbelief, didn't you say that she was taken away by the Zhu family? How could the Zhu family allow her to come out alive? However, Chu Moli said slowly, in the 3 Academies tournament, that woman who wanted to frame little junior sister for no reason, I felt that her aura was somewhat familiar from the start. However, I didn't think that it was Lu Ruoxuan. But now, it seems that we have been negligent towards this woman. It's my fault. Mayan closes her eyes and hoarsely says, I always thought that she was nothing more than a jumping clown. It didn't matter even if I ignored her. It was my arrogance and carelessness that led to Sinu's ending today. Nyang Qin. Xiao Bao hugs her, raising his little head and looking at her worriedly. Meeting her son's concerned gaze, Mu Yan's heart that was filled with anger and killing intent slowly calms down. The people of the Xiaoyao sect quickly comforted her, Junior sister, this has nothing to do with you. Who would have thought that Lu Ruoxuan would have such heaven-defying luck? She fell to the bottom again and again, but she still managed to climb back up. Moreover, her methods are becoming more and more cruel. No, this is indeed Junior sister's mistake. Only Chu Moli didn't console Mayan. Instead, he looked at her coldly, and said word by word, the world of cultivators is one where the weak are prey to the strong. It's cruel and cold. Even a lion beast knows to go all out to capture a rabbit, but little junior sister, you looked down on your opponent because she was weak, so you watched her grow stronger, and in the end, you caused irreparable damage. This in itself is your fault. Third senior brother. Luo Yu wanted to refute but was stopped by Mu Yan. She bowed deeply towards Chu Moli and slowly said, many thanks for third senior brother's teachings. I will firmly remember this lesson and will never repeat it again. Chu Moli smiled faintly. There was an indescribable admiration in his eyes as he looked at her. Chapter 1645. With such incredible talent and an even more talented son, she was pursued by so many people. She should have been at the age of arrogance, but she was able to keep her composure. In time, the entire Shushan continent, and even the Shushan continent, would be stirred up by the rise of their little sister. Mu Yan suppressed the regret in her heart and frowned. It seems that Zi has fallen into Lu Ruoxuan's hands. But I don't understand why Lu Ruoxuan captured him. Chu Moli knocked on the back of the chair. I'm more curious about how Lu Ruoxuan can come and go as she pleases in the Starry School's protective matrix. The cave that Jiang Xinyu was found in was within the inner school of the Alioth branch. Logically, even if Lu Ruoxuan could enter the outer school of the Starry School, she could not enter the inner school. This was because other than the Alcade branch, every inner school was protected by a matrix. Without the identity token of the school, one could not enter at all. Now that you mention it, Yun Ruhan suddenly said. I've been attending classes in the Alioth branch and Heavenly Jade branch recently and heard some news. What news? It said that many students in the branches have gone missing. At first, they were only from the outer school, so it did not attract much attention. But in the past 2 days, even disciples from the Alioth branch and Heavenly Jade branch have gone missing. This includes the disciples who attended Teacher Mo's and youngest uncle's lessons. Luo Yu immediately said, Could these people's disappearances be related to Lu Ruoxuan? I heard that because of Lu Ruoxuan, many people did not attend Teacher Mo's and youngest uncle's lessons in the end. As a result, they flew into a rage and taught Lu Ruoxuan a lesson. Jiang Xinyu too. I'm afraid she has the deepest grudge with Lu Ruoxuan. Mu Yen frowned. But Lu Ruoxuan alone could not make so many people go missing. There must be someone helping her behind the scenes. But who could this person be? Before she could finish, her expression suddenly changed. She shouted in a low voice, "Who is it?" However, it was quiet there. There was no sound at all. "Little sister, I don't feel anyone. Did you make a mistake?" Mu Yen frowned and quickly walked to the location where she had sensed the unknown aura. Suddenly, she stopped and looked down. Beneath her feet was a crumpled piece of talisman paper. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't notice it at all. She bent down to pick up the talisman. On the back of the talisman, there were words written in Cinnabar, "School of the Emperor's Star, under Xanu, there is someone you are looking for. Be careful of Du Dao." Mu Yan had just finished reading when the talisman paper in her hand ignited and disappeared without a trace. Who left this note? Was this person friend or foe? But now that Su Zi's life was on the line, there was no other way but to try to save him. Moreover, the last part where he told her to be careful of Du Dao made her eyes even more serene. Lu Ruoxuan had a grudge against Jiang Xinyu and the missing people, so she wanted revenge. But she didn't have the ability to take revenge. But what if Du Dao was the one behind Lu Ruoxuan? Then everything makes sense. Du Dao was the chief of the Starry School, which meant that all the students here were under his control. Chapter 1646. However, with Du Dao as the college chief, there would be no problem at all. First brother. Mu Yen suddenly turned around and made up her mind. Please invite Lu Jinheng over. In the main hall of the School of the Emperor's Star, College Chief Du Dao, a few deputy college chiefs, and the college chiefs of the various branches were gathered together to discuss the final matters of the Qiongling gathering. Suddenly, the door of the hall was pushed open. Xing Danqing's face was full of anger as she strode in. Behind him were Lu Jinheng and the other members of the Phoenix Sky King team. Du Dao frowned. Xing Danqing, what are you doing? Xing Danqing sneered and gritted his teeth. A student from the Phoenix Sky Academy went missing in your Starry School. Du Dao, how are you going to explain this to me? What student? Du Dao asked. Su Zi. An exchange student from the Phoenix Sky Academy to your Starry School. Hearing Su Zi's name, Du Dao's pupils constricted. However, he immediately put on a confused expression. Didn't the exchange student from the Phoenix Sky Academy go to the Alcade branch? He's gone. You should ask the people from the Alcade branch. What's the point of asking me? You're the college chief of the Starry School. If not you, who should I ask? Xing Danqing was furious. Du Dao, let me tell you, Su Zi's identity is not ordinary. If something really happens to him, the entire Starry School will be in deep trouble. Xing Danqing said angrily. Du Dao's eyebrows twitched, but he quickly suppressed his uneasiness and pretended to be confused. College Chief Xing, could it be that Su Zi went out to train himself and didn't report to anyone? Lu Jinheng stepped forward and said calmly, reporting to College Chief D, someone saw junior brother Su return from Tianluo City and disappear after entering the Starry School's matrix. It's been a day and night now. I think that no matter how playful he is, he should be back after playing in the Starry School for so long. Moreover, we promised to bring him back to the Phoenix Sky Academy tomorrow. He won't break his promise for no reason. Du Dao asked, then what do you want to do? Xing Danqing waved her hand and said, "Search. I want to flip all the branches of the Starry School upside down. Especially the Alioth branch where Z disappeared, we must search it thoroughly." Diyu Dao immediately sighed in relief when he heard that they wanted to search the various super courtyards. He agreed without any hesitation. Lu Jinheng smiled and said, "The people from the Phoenix Sky Academy are not familiar with the Starry School. I would like to invite College Chief Shai and the other college chiefs to accompany us." "Is that possible?" The entire Starry School was in chaos because of Su Zi's disappearance. Only the school of the Emperor Star was silent. Under the tranquil moonlight, the people of the Xiaoyao school appeared on the Tai Square. Luo Yu held on to Xiao Bao's hand as she searched the Tai Plaza. She nagged, "Xiao Bao, it's really dangerous here. You're still so young. How could you come here? Why don't 7th Martial Uncle send you back to Guang Branch Courtyard now?" Xiao Bao glanced at him coldly and ignored him. Leng Yuma, who was at the side, also said, "I don't know what junior sister is thinking." Xiao Bao said he wanted to follow and she actually agreed. "Moreover, she's missing now. If our baby Bei is injured, my 4th martial uncle's heart will ache." Chapter 1647. However, after searching for a while in the Tai Square, they couldn't find anything. Ling Yuma and the others also tried to destroy it by force. But the Tai Square wasn't an ordinary square building, it was a mustard seed space. The flying sword magic treasure slashed down towards the ground, but it could only leave a shallow mark, then disappeared without a trace. Is the person who left the message really reliable? This should be the Tai Square of the School of the Emperor Star, but there's clearly only the Tai Square, there's nothing. Just when everyone was at their wits' end, Xiao Bao's stomach suddenly moved. Then, a fluffy rabbit suddenly drilled out and landed on the ground, yawning. "Bunny!" Xiao Bao was overjoyed to see the fat rabbit wake up. He quickly bent down to pick it up and kiss it. "Bunny, are you okay?" The fat rabbit had been in a coma since that day in order to save Xiao Bao in the Fuxi's secret realm. It couldn't even reunite with Mu Yen. At this time, being held in the arms of its favorite little master, its short tail shook, and from time to time, it made a comfortable purring sound. The people of the Xiaoyao school revealed kind smiles when they saw this scene. The exquisite and beautiful little boy was hugging the soft and adorable rabbit. This scene was simply too beautiful. Their hearts were about to melt. But their precious martial nephew's spirit pet was too weak, it was actually a rabbit. How could such a spirit pet protect Xiao Bao? When they have time later, they must catch a few high-level spirit beasts for their precious martial nephew to choose from. The fat rabbit warmed in Xiao Bao's arms, then suddenly twisted its body and howled downwards, slurping its saliva. "Oh whoa, little master, there's something delicious down there, quickly let the bunny go down to eat." Although the fat rabbit couldn't speak, Xiao Bao immediately understood what he meant. "There's something delicious down there, but I can't find an entrance." Suddenly, he said, "Mother said that if there's no road, then open a road. Why didn't I think of that?" Then, Xiao Bao spread out his small hand, and the Bixia sword appeared in his hand. The huge black sword looked particularly old and shabby under the moonlight. Furthermore, the Bixia sword could not be shrunk. When the sword stood up, it was about the same size as Xiao Bao. Now that it was in little Bao's hands, it was like a little doll hugging a huge toy. It was extremely uncoordinated. The martial uncles and martial uncles of the Xiaoyao sect felt sorry for him. "This sword is too old and broken. It doesn't suit our precious nephew at all." That's right, that's right. How did junior sister become a mother? Why didn't she change Xiaobao's sword? Tomorrow, I'll go buy a long sword for martial nephew. At the very least, it must be a 7th-grade spiritual weapon forged by Master Xiao. Only then will it be worthy of our little Bao. As they spoke, they saw Xiao Bao raise the sword in his hand and stab it into the ground. There was a piercing sound. The ground of the Tai Square, which the people of the Xiaoyao school had failed to cut, was pierced through. Xiao Bao waved his hand and a square-shaped brick was cut out from the ground of the Tai Square. At the bottom was a pitch-black entrance. Everyone from the Xiaoyao sect, they were all in a mess. Was this really the fucking Tai Square that they had slashed for half a day without being able to damage? Chapter 1648. And he was using the broken sword that they had just despised. At this moment, they really wanted to find a piece of tofu to knock into. After exiting the cave, the obedient Xiao Bao remembered that his mother had to respect his teachers. He looked at Yun Ruhan and the others with sparkling blue eyes. Uncle Master, please go first." The Xiaoyao sect people who were invited first all entered the cave with complicated expressions. Far away in the Alioth school, Di Yudao, who was searching with Xing Danqing and Lu Jinheng, immediately sensed that Tai Square had been destroyed. He quickly wanted to leave but was stopped by Lu Jinheng. Lu Jinheng smiled faintly. "Chief Zhai, why are you leaving now? We've only searched 3 out of the 7 schools." Di Yudao forced a smile. "The school of the Emperor Star has something to deal with. The other school chiefs will accompany you from now on." "No." Xing Danqing stopped him and said coldly, "If we find the person who hurt Su Zi in the Starry School, shouldn't you, the chief, stay here and give me an explanation? I'm telling you, don't think about leaving just like this." Di Yudao was very anxious, but he could not leave at all. He could only call Sui Luan over. "Go to the school of the Emperor Star and take a look. If you see any troublemakers, capture them immediately." Sui Luan had been by Di Yudao's side for the past few years. Because he was humble and obedient, Di Yudao trusted him a lot. Although Di Yudao did not completely treat him as a confidant, he had already started to ask him to do many things. And every time, Sui Luan had never disappointed him. Even if he was asked to kill or set fire, he would never object. Ever since Wei Tianming died, he had lost a capable helper. As a result, he was restricted in many things. It seemed like it was time to promote Sui Luan. Hearing this, Sui Luan immediately answered respectfully, "Yes, chief." Just as he was about to turn and leave, Di Yudao suddenly gritted his teeth and took out his token. "Especially my room. Help me look after it. If anyone dares to enter, kill them without mercy." A dark light flashed in the depths of Sui Luan's eyes. Then he immediately took the token respectfully. The moment he turned around, a sinister, crazed, pained, and yearning expression appeared on his face. Xiao Bao and the others entered the Tai Square and found that there was a tunnel inside. However, a metal door appeared at the end of the tunnel. Yun Ruhan lightly touched it, and the iron door immediately lit up. Many talisman arrays appeared on it. Ling Yuma said impatiently, "Let me chop down this metal door." "No." Yun Ruhan hurriedly stopped her. "This talisman array might have an alarm function. What if you cut it off and the people inside get wind of it? What if they get desperate and hurt Z? If this doesn't work and that doesn't work, then what do you think we should do? If we wait any longer, Su Zi will still be dead by the time we arrive." A beautiful little red head suddenly popped out from behind Xiao Bao. It was an extremely beautiful little bird. She said in a weak voice, "Little big brother, can I try?" Of course, the people of the Xiaoyao sect all knew Qiu Qiu. But they had always thought that it was just an ornamental spiritual pet raised by their junior sister. Chapter 1649. Later, they found out that this beautiful little bird was raised by their little martial nephew. They couldn't help but silently curse in their hearts. How could little Marshall's sister raise such a useless spiritual pet for her own son? Although it looked cute, it couldn't protect their little Marshall nephew. How could it be compared to those powerful spiritual pets? Now that they heard the little phoenix say it had a way, they didn't take it to heart. Xiao Bao nodded, "Try it." The little phoenix immediately flew out from his back happily, its beautiful feathers circling in the air. The originally dark tunnel immediately became bright and vibrant. It was indescribably beautiful. Then the little phoenix opened its mouth and let out a clear cry. It spat out a ball of fire towards the iron door. However, this fire was really too small. It was about the size of a baby's fist, and after it flew out of the little phoenix's mouth, it seemed to be too heavy. It fell down and almost fell to the ground. The little phoenix was anxious. It hurriedly flapped its wings and flew over, blowing and blowing. Luo Yu and the others didn't dare to look straight at it. Although Chiu Chiu's appearance was 100 times better than a normal fiery bird. But this strength was really, what kind of fireball was it spat out? Even the spiritual fire condensed from their fire spiritual power was bigger than it. However, the little bird was finally able to spit out spiritual fire, so Luo Yu and the others still gave it face and applauded. Chiu Chiu is not bad, at least the fireball it spat out is slightly bigger than before. Yes, Chiu Chiu has already done very well, but leave the rest to me. Before the last word, us, could be said, the fireball landed on the iron door. The fireball landed on the metal door. In an instant, a silent golden flame suddenly sprang up from the metal door. In just a short moment, the talisman array on the iron door was completely burnt. Moreover, only a few breaths had passed, not a single sound was made. The words of comfort from the Xiao Yao sect were stuck in their throats. They were completely dumbfounded. The little phoenix happily hovered around Xiao Bao. Little big brother, did Chiu Chiu become stronger? Ever since little big brother became stronger, Chiu Chiu discovered that it also became stronger. And after little big brother came back, the ball of fire became bigger. I'm so happy. Xiao Bao rubbed the little phoenix's head. You did well. The little phoenix immediately happily kept circling around, and the entire corridor was filled with its clear cries. When it was happy enough, the little phoenix looked at Luo Yu. "Seventh martial uncle, what did you say I would give you?" Luo Yu. Nothing. At this moment, the fat rabbit in Xiao Bao's arms was already wriggling its butt impatiently. If it wasn't because it was too big, it would be too big. Luo Yu saw the rabbit in Xiao Bao's arms wriggling non-stop. She couldn't help but say, "Xiao Bao, why don't you keep the rabbit? The scene inside might be a little bloody, and it wouldn't be good if the fight scared the rabbit. Look, it's trembling in fear." Xiao Bao pressed down on the fat rabbit's body, which was about to bounce out, and raised his head to look at Luo Yu. "Seventh martial ant, it's okay. Rabbit is very powerful and isn't afraid of anything. Rabbit is only hungry." Luo Yu thought to herself, if you're hungry, why don't you feed it spirit fruits? Chapter 1650. Rabbit. Lil Bao cried out in alarm and hurriedly followed. When the Xiao Yao sect disciples saw this, they realized that if they let their beloved martial nephew get hurt, they would commit suicide. Therefore, they quickly followed after them. Just as they turned the corner, they heard the roar of a wild beast. Yun Ruhan and the others' expressions changed greatly. They quickened their steps, but when they saw the scene in front of them, their pupils shrank. At the end of the corner was a place that looked like a coliseum. There were all kinds of strange monsters inside. Some had scales, some had tentacles all over their bodies, and some had sharp claws and fangs. The only thing they had in common was that every one of them looked ferocious and had crimson eyes. It was obvious that they did not have any intelligence. Between the tunnel and the Colosseum, there was originally a barbed wire fence. But now, the wire fence had been bitten through by something. Lil, Bao and the fat rabbit had already entered. The monsters inside immediately smelled the scent of living people. They let out beast-like roars and excitedly pounced towards Lil, Bao and the fat rabbit. One of the monsters that was covered in scales opened its mouth and stretched out a bright red, narrow, and barbed tongue towards Lil, Bao. Lil, Bao. The people of the Xiaoyao sect screamed and wanted to rush over. But it was too late. Even if they could fly, they wouldn't be able to make it in time. They couldn't imagine what would happen if their little martial nephew was harmed under their protection. How would they explain it to their little martial sister when they returned? Luo Yu was so anxious that her eyes turned red. She almost wanted to close her eyes and didn't dare to look. Only Lil Bao, who was surrounded by the monster, remained calm. He lightly swung the Bixia sword in his hand. The black sword spun in the air and fell to the ground with a clatter. It actually pierced through the monster's tongue and nailed it to the ground. Ah! The monster let out a mournful roar. It wanted to retreat, but it couldn't move at all. Not only could it not move, but the Bixia sword with its tongue in it lit up with a green and white light. It was as if something was flowing from the monster's body into the Bixia sword. When the fat rabbit saw this, it immediately became anxious. It let out a loud howl and suddenly jumped onto the monster's head. Its claws clawed and its mouth bit. He didn't bite out a mouthful of flesh and blood, but he pulled out a ball of black gas. The Bixia sword couldn't stand it any longer. It let go of the monster's tongue and pounced forward with a buzzing sound. "You damned rabbit, put down my food. This is mine. Awoo, mine. All the food is my fat rabbit's. Bastard! How dare you steal my food? I'll chop you to death. Awoo. Woo. You dare steal my beast soul. I'll bite you to death." Therefore, the people of the Xiaoyao sect, who had just arrived in a panic, witnessed a scene that completely shattered their worldview. They saw the worn-out flying sword that they looked down upon and the adorable white-furred rabbit that looked like an ornamental pet. The two of them were slaughtering the monsters in the Colosseum while fighting over the black gas that floated out of the monsters. Biting, fighting, cursing, howling, they resorted to every conceivable means. Chapter 1651. In the end, the two of them angrily rushed in front of Xiao Bao, asking him to be the judge. "Awoo! Little master, this bad sword stole the fat rabbit's beast soul, you have to help the fat rabbit. Little master, you can't be biased, bullying the kind and fearing the evil." The evil warding sword strength increased, that is equal to little master's strength increased. This damn fat rabbit even dared to steal little master's things. Little master, you must not tolerate it. Awoo! Wang. Roar, bang bang. As the rabbit and the sword spoke, they began to quarrel again. In the huge Colosseum, the swords flashed, sand flew, and stones rolled. The murderous aura was enough to make a golden core stage cultivator's legs weak. The people of the Xiaoyao sect were dumbfounded, not knowing how to react. But soon, they saw their precious martial nephew in the center of the storm. The small figure in the rain of swords was like a small boat that could be overturned at any time. The few of them wanted to rush over and carry Xiao Bao out of the battle. But before they could move, their hearts inexplicably jumped. They felt that the next scene might be a slap in the face. Sure enough, in the next moment, they saw Xiao Bao, who could not bear it anymore, walk forward expressionlessly. He mercilessly punched the sword and the rabbit. Bang! The first punch, the arrogant evil warding sword buzzed twice, and fell to the ground powerlessly. Bang! The second punch, the fat rabbit somersaulted in the air, whined twice, and obediently burrowed into Xiao Bao's arms. Xiao Bao coldly said, "Too noisy." Woo-woo, the fat rabbit rubbed its head in his arms, its butt and short tail swaying outside. "Humph, this rabbit will not stoop to your stupid sword's level." The evil warding sword buzzed, and with a whoosh, it shot into Xiao Bao's chest, disappearing without a trace. Leaving behind a string of clamors, "Humph, for little master's sake, I'll let you go today. One day, I'll turn you into stir-fried rabbit meat." Xiao Bao touched the fat rabbit in his arms, and comforted the frightened little phoenix on his shoulder. He then turned to Luo Yu and the others, Martial Uncle, it's settled, let's go and find Uncle Z." "Oh, okay. It's good that it's settled. Hee, if only the solution wasn't so dreamy." In an empty room in the underground laboratory, Diudeo's trusted aides, He Shanjing and Lu Ruoxuan, stared at the youth lying on the bed without blinking. The young man's forelimbs were tied up, and his skin turned black and purple. His entire face was contorted from the pain. From time to time, he would let out a shrill, beast-like howl. He Shan and Lu Ruoxuan, as well as the other black-clothed men in the room, were excited to see this. He Shan, Miss Lu was right, this person's body can really bear the Chang Jiao's beast soul. Ha, Miss Lu is the main reason why the longevity of the heavenly flood dragon was successful. Master will definitely not treat you unfairly. Lu Ruoxuan looked at Su Zi, who was moaning and struggling on the bed. She felt an indescribable joy in her heart. Back then, it was this young man who used his gentle and innocent face to trick him into drinking the poison that pierced his intestines. How could this little bit of pain be enough for him? Chapter 1652. He Shan promptly stops her. "Miss Lu, what are you doing?" He, there are only 3 Chang Jiao souls. After Zhao Tian succeeds in extending his lifespan, the elixir refined from his flesh and blood can at most extend his lifespan by a year. However, if it turns into 6 Chang Jiao souls, then it's different. Perhaps it can let him enjoy immortal fortune forever, and live as long as the heavens. This. He Shan hesitates, the Chang Jiao's beast soul is very powerful. If by any chance his body can't bear it, then all his efforts would be in vain. Lu Ruo. She tenderly smiles as she approaches him, rubbing her ample bosom against him. "Don't worry, I have a sense of propriety. When he can't bear it anymore, I'll take out the Chang Jiao's soul. Big brother this person fed this servant gut-piercing poison at that time, almost taking this servant's life. If he can't be taught a lesson, how can this servant be reconciled?" Listening to Lu Ruo. Her coquettish words, smelling the fragrance on her body, He Shan's heart is like a monkey galloping like a galloping horse, his mind and soul captivated. Fine, Miss Lu, you can deal with him however you want." Lu Ruo. Her eyes flash with deep disgust and pride, she turns around and walks in front of Su Zi. Su Zi suddenly opens his eyes, meeting her gaze. If you have the ability, kill me." "Kill you?" Lu Ruo laughs sinisterly. "If I kill you so easily, wouldn't it be too easy for you? Don't worry, you'll definitely die. However, I'll wait until you're in a state where you can neither live nor die, then I'll refine your flesh and blood into an elixir. Ha. Little sister, will never let go. Pass. You." Hearing him mention Jun Mayan, Lu Ruo. Her face instantly distorts. This woman is like her natural nemesis, sending her into an abyss of eternal damnation again and again. But it doesn't matter. Very soon, she'll be able to climb up a high branch. As for June Mayan, she can only watch helplessly as the people around her die without a complete corpse. How much remorse and pain would she feel? Ha ha ha, I wonder if she saw Jiang Xinyu, that slut's miserable appearance. That scene must be very interesting, it would make her very happy. Lu Ruo. She looks at Su Zi with a thick malice in her eyes, and shakes the black elixir in her hand at him. Hee hee hee, if you want that slut June Mayan to come and save you, then she has to be able to find this place. Unfortunately, they would never be able to find this place. As for you, you can only be a fish in my hand, waiting to be slaughtered by me, ha ha ha. Right now, you only have 3 Chang Flood Dragon Beast souls in your body, and you're already in so much pain. Take a guess, if I stuffed 4, 5, 6 Chang Jiao Beast souls into your body, what would happen to you? Su Zi's pupils constricted slightly, revealing deep fear and despair in his eyes. The pain of his divine soul being torn apart just now was like hell. If he had 3 more beast souls, seeing the fear and despair on Su Zi's face, Lu Ruo. He laughed out loud and stuffed the beast soul elixir in his hand into his mouth. However, at this moment, a loud bang suddenly sounded. Lu Ruo. Before he could even react, he was sent flying, crashing heavily into a large urn at the side. The large urn shattered with a loud bang, and the black beast soul elixirs all tumbled to the ground. Lu Ruo. She screams miserably, her whole body pressed against the fragments of the urn, blood flowing everywhere. Chapter 1653. As soon as she finished, dozens of men in black rushed out from all directions. Each of them was at the peak of the evil-warding realm. Ling Yuma raised her broadsword and smiled sinisterly. My broadsword has endured for a long time. Now, I can finally start killing. Along the way, their desire to protect their little martial nephew was completely extinguished from the moment it was boiling. In the end, they were led by Xiao Bao and won without doing anything. That felt really good. As martial uncle and martial uncle, their self-esteem had suffered a serious blow. At this moment, they only wanted to have a good fight to vent their frustrations and show off their power in front of their precious nephew. Therefore, in less than 15 minutes, the dozens of men in black were all lying on the ground, barely breathing. He Shan stared at them in horror. You want to rebel? This is college head Shai's place. You just barged in, aren't you afraid of being expelled from the school? Luo Yute squinted her eyes and said with a faint smile, Oh, I didn't know if you didn't tell me. So this is college head Shai's territory. I didn't expect the college head of the Starry School to do something like this in the school of the Emperor Star. He Shan's face paled and he shut his mouth, not daring to say another word. Suddenly, Su Zi's painful scream came from the stone bed at the side. Yun Ruhan and the others rushed over and saw that Su Zi's skin seemed to have been hit by something. It kept bulging and sinking. And the heart-wrenching screams he let out were simply unbearable to listen to. Luo Yu asked, What do we do? Should we carry him out to find our little sister? Yun Ruhan reached out to touch him, but Su Zi screamed even louder. Seeing this, He Shan couldn't help but laugh maniacally. Don't waste your energy. His body has already been stuffed with the souls of 4 Chang Jiao. He will either become a monster or explode and die. And before he dies, he will be tortured day and night, living a life worse than death. Ha ha ha, no one in this world can save him. Just as he finished speaking, he saw a delicate and pretty little boy, carrying a furry fat rabbit in one hand and dragging a huge long sword in the other, slowly walk in. He Shan was confused as to why a child would come here. The fat rabbit and the long sword suddenly trembled at the same time. Then, without waiting for anyone to react, they scrambled to be the first to fall to the ground. Scattered on the ground were several dozens of beast soul pills, which contained the beast soul of Changjiao. Moreover, it was the last beast soul elixir that Di Yudao had. The fat rabbit opened its mouth, and with a sweep of its long tongue, a dozen beast soul dawn were directly swallowed by it. Not to be outdone, the Bishia's sword buzzed and swept in a circle. The originally shiny black beast soul elixir immediately lost its luster and shattered. In just a few short breaths, the beast soul pills on the ground had either disappeared or shattered. Not a single one was left behind. Hishan trembled as he looked at the scene in front of him. He almost fainted. This was dozens of beast soul elixirs. If any human or beast swallowed one, they would explode and die. But what was this rabbit? It actually swallowed 20 to 30 pills, and there wasn't even the slightest reaction. And that sword, how could a sword devour beast souls? What was going on? Chapter 1654. One stood on the top of the rabbit's head, the other on its chest, dragging and pulling. The fat rabbit burped and lazily jumped back into Xiao Bao's arms. It twisted its buttocks and turned over comfortably, letting Xiao Bao scratch it. Seeing that there's so much food and that I'm already full, I won't argue with you, you damned bitch. The evil warding sword also shook its body, which was clearly much brighter than before, and flew back into Xiao Bao's body. The feeling of being full of energy was so comfortable. Bixia felt that it was about to be unsealed again. Su Zi, whose beast soul had disappeared, immediately stopped screaming. Although he did not wake up, his expression became calm and peaceful. Hishan stood there in a daze for a long time, then suddenly screamed, "Those are all precious beast soul pills given by the noble. Only by stuffing these beast souls into people's bodies and making them into heavenly longevity Jiao can we report to the noble. You actually swallowed them all, swallowed them. Are you looking to die?" Yun Ruhan's expression darkened. "So you've stuffed beast souls into those half-human, half-ghost monsters? Those are the missing students of the Starry School, right?" Hishan sneered. "So what? Those are just useless outer sect disciples. There are 2 inner sect disciples, but they have no power or influence. It's their good fortune for us to use this kind of trash for our experiments. Let me tell you, these useless people merged with the Changjiao's beast souls to make the elixir of immortality. This elixir is to be given to the most powerful noble in the Ziyun realm. Do you know what will happen to you if you dare to destroy the noble's things?" Hearing that these people had actually captured innocent students and used them to refine pills, Yun Ruhan's group's anger flared like a raging inferno. This was a school that was supposed to educate people, but they treated young cultivators who came to seek knowledge as experimental subjects and trampled on them. They turned them into monsters that were neither human nor ghost, then casually killed and discarded them. How could someone like this be a teacher? A college chief? Seeing that they did not speak, Hishan thought that they were afraid. "I advise you, if you know what's good for you, kneel and beg for mercy, then leave obediently. Otherwise, the next ones to become the Changjiao's vessel will be you." Luoyu couldn't take it anymore and suddenly moved her fingers. Hishan was talking when he suddenly felt something small fall on his body. He opened his mouth and was about to speak when he suddenly felt something rushing into his body. Then, a heart-wrenching pain surged from his internal organs, throat, and esophagus. "Oh!" A moment later, Hishan fell to the ground, twitching. Black blood flowed out of his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. This was a miniature puppet controlled by Luoyu. During this period of time, the people of the Xiaoyao school had been practicing hard, hoping to awaken their domains. Although Luoyu had yet to open the door to her domain, her control over the puppets had already reached an unimaginable level. Qinjiu stepped forward and carried Su Zi on her back. They were about to leave. Luo Yu's expression changed. Where's Lu Ruoxuan? The woman who had just fainted in a pool of blood had already disappeared. Leng Yuma gritted her teeth and said, "Damn it, this beast actually ran away again." Chapter 1655. Then, they saw Di Yudeo's figure suddenly flash in front of them. Behind him were a few Golden Corps deacons from the Academic Supervisory Committee. After Di Yudao stood still, his eyes swept across the mess, and his body trembled violently because of anger and fear. A strong pressure, accompanied by a bone-piercing killing intent, filled every corner of the room, and rushed towards Xiao Bao and the people of the Xiaoyao sect. How dare you damage my beast soul elixir and ruin my lifespan? Today, I will make you beg for death. Under the moonlight, Lu Ruo. Fleeing in panic in the Tsang Mountain, she touched her wounds from time to time and looked back in panic. When he realized that no one was chasing after him, he slowly stopped running. Unconsciously, a proud smile appeared on her face. See, she said that the heavens were looking after her. She was the favored child of the heavens, and was destined to have a meteoric rise. Those lowly trash were destined to be trampled under her feet one day. At this moment, she suddenly heard a low sound of a zither. Lu Ruo. She stopped and was puzzled. How could there be zither music in the Danyang mountain range? Just as she was thinking about this, the spiritual plants around her suddenly made a rustling sound and shook gently. Under her feet, something was crawling quickly. It was as if something was surging in her direction. Lu Ruo. She had a bad premonition. Who? Who was the one hiding in the shadows? Get out here. The grass was slowly moved, and then a chubby youth walked out of the tall bushes. Lu Ruo. Do you remember me? Lu Ruo. Seeing the person, her heart that had been in her throat immediately calmed down, and a trace of contempt flashed across her eyes. Xing Zhebao, what are you doing here? Fatty Zheng revealed a dazed smile. So you still remember me? Then do you remember Jiang Xinyu? Lu Ruo. Hearing this, she immediately frowned in disgust, and then giggled. So, you hooked up with Jiang Xinyu. A useless fatty and a shameless slut, what a good match. Upon hearing this, Xing Xiaopeng's reddened eyes instantly turned bloodshot. His face instantly contorted into a sinister expression. Say it again if you dare. Ha ha ha. Lu Ruo. Looks like you've seen that bitch's pitiful appearance. How is it? As your junior sister, I treat her well, right? He specially found 7 or 8 strong men to serve her. In the end, they dug out her eyeballs, severed all the tendons and veins in her body, destroyed her dantian, and even cut off her fingers and tongue so that she could not send any messages. But I didn't expect that you didn't despise such a broken woman and even guessed that I was the one who did it. TSK, TSK, TSK. Such deep affection is really touching. Listen to Lu Ruo. As he recounted the process of torturing Jiang Xinyu, Xing Little Fatty's entire body trembled. Tears rolled down her cheeks uncontrollably. After Jiang Xinyu woke up for the second time, he felt much better. He even gestured to Xing Little Fatty to fetch some beautiful clothes for him. Xing Little Fatty did not suspect anything and happily went to buy new clothes for her. However, when he returned, all he saw was Jiang Xinyu's cold corpse. Jiang Xinyu had committed suicide. He walked away quietly with a smile on his face. Chapter 1656. Xing Little Fatty spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. He was filled with remorse, anger, heartache, and despair, but most of all, he had an irreconcilable hatred for the woman in front of him. Ever since he had woken up, Xing Xiaopeng had sworn to himself that he would never, ever let Lu Ruochen win. This vicious slut, blood for blood. Jing Jiabao clenched his teeth and said word by word, Lu Ruo. I swear, I will tear you to pieces. I will return the pain you inflicted on Xan you 10 times, 100 times more. Lu Ruo. His bloodthirsty eyes frightened her so much that her heart turned cold. Then, he laughed out loud. Tear me to pieces. With just you. Ha ha ha, Jing Jiabao, you are just a good-for-nothing who has just reached the first rank of Anidia. You actually want to tear me, a practitioner at the peak of Jin Dan's stage, into pieces. Are you dreaming? As soon as she finished speaking, the melodious sound of the zither rang out again in the mountains. Lu Ruo. He felt as if the ground beneath his feet was cracking again. The sound of. Then, she heard a light and sweet female voice that sounded like the sounds of nature. Because he has me to help him. Hearing this voice, Lu Ruoyan's heart skipped a beat. His expression changed. Then, the rustling grass and trees that were brushing against her clothes suddenly flew to the sides as if they were alive. The moonlight shone on a black-haired girl in a green robe. Her white skin was like the most sparkling and translucent porcelain under the moonlight, and her ink-black silky hair fluttered in the wind. A pair of enchanting peach blossom eyes carried a bone-chilling coldness as he looked over with a faint smile. It was like the reflection of light from the abyss in the depths of hell. Lu Ruo. His body suddenly stiffens, his heart welling up with instinctive fear and bone-piercing hatred. June. Mu. Yen. Why are you here? Mu Yen smiles faintly. I've been waiting for you here. No, that's impossible. She screamed, how did you know I would escape in this direction? Of course, Mu Yan doesn't know which direction she will escape to. But she had guessed that Lu Ruochen would not be able to escape. Eldest senior brother and the others probably wouldn't be able to catch her if she didn't run out of luck. As for Lu Ruo, the most likely direction was the Danyang mountain range. The Danyang mountain range was huge. If she escaped into the mountains, ordinary people would not be able to find her. But Mayan is different. She has been waiting here since early in the morning, playing the Tian Mo Chin. Myriad plants resonating, and summer bug of ice, were activated at the same time. At this moment, in the forest adjacent to the school of the Emperor Star in the Danyang mountain range, all the plants, snakes, insects, rats, and ants were her eyes. It was as if an inescapable net had been set up in the Danyang mountain range. Lu Ruo. No matter how heaven-defying his luck was, there was no way he could escape. Mu Yan coldly looks at her. What's the use of a dead person knowing how I found you? Lu Ruo. Clenching her teeth, she says, Jun Mayan, don't be too arrogant. Even if you're powerful, you're still just a foundation establishment stage cultivator. I'm currently at the peak of Aura's core stage. Do you really think that I'm afraid of you? Mu Yan doesn't pay attention to her at all. Instead, she looks at Jing Xiaopang. Do you want to personally avenge Jiang Xinyu? Jing Xiaopang grits his teeth and hisses, I dream of it. Chapter 1657. Lu Ruo. She has always been on guard against Mayan. However, when she sees that Mayan is just sitting in front of the Tian Mo Chin, not even having the intention to move, but letting Jing Jiabao attack her, she almost wants to look up to the sky and howl. In the end, is Jun Mayan too arrogant, or is her brain broken? How could he let a piece of trash who had just entered the Anidia stage kill him? Ha ha ha, did she really think that her cultivation at the peak of the Gold Core realm was just for show? Wait a minute, as long as she restrains Jing Jiabao, that damn fatty, and tortures him bit by bit in front of Mayan, she doesn't believe that Mayan wouldn't be thrown into confusion. Lu Ruo. The more he thought about it, the more pleased he became. She felt that she was indeed the favored child of the heavenly Tao. All the luck was on her side. However, just as this thought flashed through her mind, suddenly, she felt a cold and heavy aura engulfing her entire body. The sound of the zither, which was originally just echoing in the air, suddenly seemed to have smashed heavily on her heart. Star domain activated. LoveLore. He frowned and almost wanted to cover his ears. The sound of the zither was too noisy, so noisy that she couldn't breathe. Moreover, gradually, her hands and feet seemed to be tied by something. It was heavy and painful, and even lifting them required a lot of strength. On the contrary, Zhang Little Fatty's originally cumbersome body suddenly became as light as a swallow. All the spiritual energy in his body began to circulate, and there was no longer any obstruction. With a swing of the sword, spiritual energy surged, and the momentum was extremely powerful. This was definitely not the battle power of a level 1 fasting cultivator. Support battle skill greatly increases one's own combat power and reduces the enemy's combat power. Graceful feather activated. LoveLore. He quickly dodged Zhang Little Fatty's slash, his face filled with surprise and doubt. However, at this moment, she could not afford to think too much. LoveLore. A fierce light flashed in his eyes, and his originally thin white fingers suddenly turned into sharp claws. There was a thick baleful aura lingering around it. As soon as this baleful aura appeared, the surrounding temperature seemed to plummet. Zhang Little Fatty felt the blood and qi in his body churning, followed by a wave of coldness, as though the blood in his body was about to freeze. However, in the next moment, the sound of the zither rang out. Flashing golden runes appeared in front of Jing Xiaopang. In the blink of an eye, he drew a soul-locking talisman in the air. As the evil energy rushed towards Zhang Little Fatty, the soul-locking talisman in the air emitted a dazzling light and started to burn. In the blink of an eye, the baleful aura that was so thick it seemed as if it wanted to devour Zhang Little Fatty disappeared without a trace. On the other hand, Zhang Little Fatty didn't feel cold at all. Instead, he felt refreshed, and his eyes were bright. Without a pen or paper, he created a talisman in the air. Mutual affinity, level 2 skill activated. LoveLore. Looking at the scene before him, his face paled. His frightened eyes keep looking at June Mayan, who is not far away. Before this, it wasn't that she hadn't heard of auxiliary musicians, but in this world, where could there be a musician like June Mayan, who could allow a weakling at the first level of Anidia to have the ability to fight against a cultivator at the peak of Jin Dan stage? No. This was impossible. She would never believe it. He wouldn't even be able to beat Jing Jiabao, that trash. LoveLore. His expression turned ferocious, and he suddenly leaped into the air, ruthlessly slamming his palm toward Jing Jiabao's head. Jing Jiabao thrust his sword towards the sky. Chapter 1658. Boom. There's a loud noise as the two forces collide. LoveLore. Before she could rejoice, she suddenly feels a pain in her palm, followed by a huge force that heavily hits her chest, causing her to scream and fly out. After a long while, she awkwardly climbs up from the ground and sees that Jing Jiabao's whole body is surrounded by a faint layer of light. This layer of light is like a protective cover, protecting Jing Jiabao inside, making her unable to hit, unable to touch, and can only passively take a beating. Using musical notes to weave a protective cover, after being upgraded to the 3rd level, the protective cover has the ability to reflect damage. The lower the cultivation, the stronger the attack, the greater the reflected damage. Divine Hand weaves the sky, activates. LoveLore. Her body keeps twitching, the surging pain in her body and the taste of blood in her mouth are telling her. She, LoveLore. Lost to Jing Jiabao, who is at the 1st level of abstinence. No. She is a gold core stage cultivator, how could she lose to a waste at the abstinence stage? It's Mayan, all of this is Mayan's doing. She wants to use this method to humiliate herself. Lu Ruo. Her eyes are filled with madness, she suddenly throws herself at Mayan. Slut, slut, I'm going to kill you. As long as I kill you, I will be the darling of heaven. Everything in this world will be mine. Mayan looks at Lu Ruo, who is throwing herself at her. She smiles. Her slender jade-like fingers gently pluck the strings. In the next second, an invisible thread twines around Lu Ruo. She was just about to pounce over when she suddenly stopped in midair. Using music to control the trajectory of the enemy's movements, making the enemy unable to move within a small range. At this stage, it can only control people with weak minds and chaotic spiritual power. Prison drawing activates. Almost at the same time, the sound of the zither suddenly changes. The melodious music suddenly turned into the roar of war drums that resembled the sound of armored horses and spears. Swish swish swish. Hundreds of sword auras turned into light and shadow, ruthlessly penetrating Lu Ruo. Unable to move her body. Ah ah ah. Lu Ruo lets out a mournful scream, blood splatters all over her body, penetrated into a sieve. Sound blade, 10,000 arrows shoot at once. Lu Ruo, who is like a mass of flesh and blood. He fell heavily to the ground, his body still twitching. The murderous aura swirled around her wounds and healed them from time to time. However, the damage caused by the hundreds of sound blades was too great. In a short period of time, when the murderous aura healed one wound, another wound would immediately bleed. Lu Ruo. His eyes widened and his lips trembled. Suddenly, he murmured hoarsely, "Divine. Musician. I remember now." In Mei Xian's memories, it has the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Just one Tian Mo Qin can subvert the three realms. Jun Mayan, you're a Shin musician, you're a demon that everyone in the world wants to punish. You're a demon. Mayan slowly stands up and walks over to Lu Ruochen. In front of him, there was not the slightest trace of fear on the beautiful face, only a faint smile of mockery. You actually recognized me. You. Lu Ruo. Letting out a shrill howl, I want to tell the world of your identity. Jun Mayan, I want you to be on the winning and losing list, and die a horrible death. Before she could finish yelling, she heard little fatty Zhang's faint voice in her ear. That's if you can say it out loud. Chapter 1659. Lu Ruo. She screamed in terror, and tears gushed out of her eyes. She looked at Zhang Little Fatty with pleading eyes. Zhang Little Fatty coldly laughed. At that time, didn't Xian also beg you like this? Did you let her go? He waved the knife in his hand. A cold light flashed and blood splattered. However, the one he cut down was not Lu Ruo. Not her tongue, but her ear. Zhang Little Fatty stuffed his ear into her mouth and forced her to chew and swallow it. At Lu Ruo. Amidst her cries and pleas, Zhang Little Fatty cut off the tendons in her arms and legs one by one, crushing her dantian. He even chopped off her hands and feet and smeared honey with spiritual energy on her wounds. Due to summer bugs' language of ice, and myriad plants chirping, the insects and demonic plants that had gathered here immediately smelled the spiritual energy and rushed over to eat Lu Ruoxiang. My body. Heart-wrenching screams came from Lu Ruochen again and again. From his mouth. In the beginning, she cursed and screamed. Then, she wailed and begged for mercy. In the end, she even wanted to die. Little Fatty Zhang only asked her again and again, did Xian beg you like this before? Did you let her go? Kill me, I beg you, please kill me. I know I'm in the wrong, I've let Xian down. I'm willing to pay with my life. Zhang Little Fatty pulled out her tongue and cut it off. Lu Ruo. Blood gushed out of his mouth, and he finally let out a cry for mercy. Zhang Little Fatty stared blankly at Lu Ruoxiang, who had been tortured by him to the point that she no longer resembled a human. She could no longer hold back her tears. Xanu. Xanu. Even if I kill you, even if I take revenge 10 times or 100 times more, my Xanu will never be able to return. Woo 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 woo. Can you return my Xanu back to me? After crying for a long time, Zhang Little Fatty raised the dagger in his hand and was about to stab Lu Ruoxiang. My heart. However, before he could move, he was stopped by Mu Yan. You can't kill her like this. Zhang Little Fatty stares blankly as he raises his head to look at Mayan. Mu Yan sneers at Lu Ruoxiang. Her soul has fused with a devil cultivator at the tribulation stage. Even if you completely destroy her body, her soul can still be stored in her bones, waiting for her next resurrection. Besides, her karmic luck hasn't been exhausted yet. If you kill her, you'll suffer a backlash instead. A look of disbelief appeared on Jing Xiaopeng's face. So, the reason she begged me to kill her wasn't because she wanted to repent, or to atone for her sins. He abruptly turned to look at Lu Ruoxiang. Only Lu Ruo. After hearing Mayan's words, he finally revealed a look of horror and despair. The hatred in Zhang Little Fatty's heart was like boiling lava, wanting to burn away his rationality. God Yi. With a putonged sound, he knelt in front of Mu Yan as he cried bitterly, God Yi, I beg you to take revenge for Xanu. As long as this woman gets her retribution, I am willing to be your slave in my next life, doing anything for you. I will never regret this. Saying that, he directly pointed to the heavens and swore to the heavenly Tao that he would be loyal to Mu Yan for all eternity. If there was any betrayal, he would be punished by the heavens and destroyed by the earth, dying a horrible death. For a true cultivator, the oath they made to the heavenly Tao will come true. In other words, from this moment on, Jing Jiabao had already recognized Mu Yan as his master, and could never betray her for all eternity. Chapter 1660. Firstly, her identity as a Shin musician really can't be leaked out, not even the slightest mistake. Secondly, Zhang Little Fatty has now completely collapsed because of Jiang Xinyu's death. Only Jiang Xinyu's vengeance is hanging on to him. Once this life-saving straw disappears, Mu Yan is very afraid that he will collapse. Now, this vow of allegiance may become a shackle on his body, so that he won't abandon himself to despair. Mu Yan gently pats Zhang Little Fatty's shoulder, and walks over to Lu Ruoxiang. She walks over to Lu Ruo and looks down at her, slowly revealing a smile. Lu Ruo. Since you know about Shin musicians, then do you know that Shin musicians have a skill called floating like a dream? Do you know what kind of interesting experience it is in the nightmare dream of floating like a dream? It's a dream, but it's not a dream. It's just a short quarter of an hour of zither music, but it can make your soul experience thousands of years of hellish torment. In that nightmare world, you may be a low-level vicious beast, hiding from the pursuit of cultivators, enduring the law of the jungle, and finally becoming a bowl of delicious food on someone else's plate. You may also be an ugly peasant woman without spiritual power, toiling all day, exposed to the wind and the sun, beaten by your husband, abandoned by your children, and finally dying of depression. Lu Ruo. What kind of life do you want to experience? I can weave it for you in floating like a dream. When you wake up, you will find that only a few days and nights have passed, but your hair has already turned white, your face is full of wrinkles, and your teeth have fallen out. The aging of the soul is truly irreversible. How long do you think it will take for me to grind away your so-called luck, your soul, and your murderous aura bit by bit? Jun Mayan's sweet-sounding voice is clearly transmitted to Lu Ruo. It's like ants gnawing at her spirit, which is already on the verge of collapse. Boo-hoo-hoo, boo-hoo-hoo. Sparkling and translucent tears of blood flow from her eyes. That's true remorse, fear, and despair. However, it's all too late. Mu Yen slowly sits down beside her, a grim smile on her pale face. Lu Ruo. I originally didn't want to bother with you, but you kept bumping into me. Now, he had taken innocent lives one after another. Bullshit favored child of the heavenly Tao. Do you really think that no one in this world can do anything to you? Lu Ruo. Woo 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 woo. Ah ah. Ah, hee hee, you want to beg for mercy now. Too late. Her slender fingers gently plucked the strings, and melodious music surrounded them. She began to slowly use the musical notes to create bizarre and dazzling dreams. However, this time, it was not a beautiful dream, but a hellish nightmare. Lu Ruo. Are you ready to welcome your first nightmare? Under the school of the Emperor Star. Di Dao was just about to make his move when he heard a violent commotion coming from the entrance. Then, there were a few loud bangs. Before Di Dao could react, a large group of people had already rushed in from outside. Di Dao's expression changed drastically when he saw the people rushing in. Xing Danqing was in the lead, while Meng Baichuan and the other branch deans followed behind. When they came in and saw the scene in front of them, they were all dumbfounded. Chapter 1661. The people possessed by the Changjiao beast souls were different from Su Zi. They had consumed the beast soul elixir for too long, and their souls had been completely devoured by the Changjiao beast souls. Now that the Changjiao in their bodies had been eaten by the fat rabbit and the evil warding sword, all that was left was a corpse. However, without the effects of the Changjiao beast souls, their appearances returned to normal, so they were immediately recognized. The college chiefs of the other schools also recognized their students. Although most of them were from the outer sect, they were still their subordinates. They were both shocked and angry. Who killed our students? Behind the crowd, Chu Moli, who was sitting in a wheelchair, was slowly pushed forward by Ling Yuxing. The corners of Chu Moli's mouth hooked into a faint smile. The entrance to the secret passage was discovered in Dean Zhai's study. Shouldn't you be asking Dean Zhai about this? Xing Danqing had already rushed to Su Zi's side. After confirming that he was only unconscious and not in danger, she heaved a sigh of relief. Hearing this, she immediately glared at Di Dao and said, College Chief Zhai, shouldn't you give us an explanation for this? As the college chief of the Starry School, how could you do such a crazy thing underground? Di Dao's face turned green and white. His gaze swept across the people of the Alcade School, extremely gloomy. Just now, after sending Sui Luan to investigate, he suddenly felt the jade pendant he wore become hot. Di Dao knew all too well what this jade pendant represented. It was a secret that he had hidden with all his might. It was something that he could not let anyone find out. Di Dao was scared out of his wits. Without even bothering to find an excuse, he hurried back to the school of the Emperor Star. However, by the time he arrived, the thing that he had hidden away had already disappeared without a trace. There was even the aura of the demon race around the house. At this moment, there was nothing that Di Dao did not know. Sui Luan had betrayed him. No, it should be said that Sui Luan had evil intentions from the start when he appeared beside him. Di Dao gritted his teeth in hatred. He swore to destroy Sui Luan's soul. Moreover, he had already guessed what Sui Luan wanted to do. This was something that he could not allow to happen. However, before he could give chase, he heard a sound coming from underground. The heavenly life serpent was his last hope. No matter what, he couldn't give up. This time, he didn't even have time to care about Sui Luan. He brought his trusted subordinates and hurried to the underground. He didn't even have the time to set up the defensive array glyphs. Unexpectedly, before he could make a move, Xing Danqing, Meng Baichuan, and the others barged in. He didn't even have time to hide. Di Yudao took a few deep breaths before he said with a straight face, I also just discovered that there is such a mechanism in my study. What kind of place is this? Why are you here? He pointed at Yun Ruhan and the others and said harshly, are you guys colluding with the demonic creatures and purposely causing trouble in the Starry School? Men, capture them for me. Ha ha ha. Dean Zhai's ability to play the blame game is truly superb. I can't help but admire him. Luo Yu sneered. However, when Dean Zhai rushed down and yelled at us to kill us, he didn't say that. Chapter 1662. As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Yuxing flashed and brought the unconscious He Shan before Chu Moli. Ling Yuxing was extremely fast. In a short distance, even nascent soul cultivators could not catch up to him. Just now, he had pretended to be a suspicious person and lured Xing Danqing and the others here. Di Yudao obviously noticed his movements. Seeing the unconscious He Shan at the side, he knew that things were bad. But he could not catch up to Ling Yuxing's speed. Chu Moli lifted He Shan's collar. Somehow, He Shan opened his eyes slowly. His consciousness was still blurry. Seeing Di Yudao, He Shan immediately screamed in fear, Master, Master, save me. They destroyed all the beast soul elixirs and still want to take Suzy away. Master. Chu Moli could not help but chuckle. College Chief Zhai, if I remember correctly, He Shan should be your confidant, right? What are the beast soul elixirs he mentioned? Why don't you let the people from the Alcade branch bring junior brother Su back? At this moment, He Shan's muddled thoughts slowly came back to him. When he saw the people gathered around Di Yudao's pale face, he was immediately flustered. Master, Before He Shan could finish his words, Di Yudao suddenly moved and slammed his palm on the top of He Shan's head. In an instant, his brain exploded and his neck was broken. He Shan did not even make a sound before he died. Before he died, he stared at Di Yudao in disbelief, as if asking, Master, why did you do this to me? However, Di Yudao did not even look at him. With a righteous expression, he said, I did not think that there would be someone with such evil intentions lurking around me. College Chief Xing, I am willing to apologize to you. It is my fault for not teaching him well. That is why Feng Tian's disciple had such an accident in the Starry School. This was pushing the blame away, completely shirking his responsibility. But the people present were not fools. This matter was simply too strange and bizarre. Students disappeared from time to time in the Starry School. Now, the missing students were all found in the secret room under Di Yudao's study. The person who did such a crazy thing was Di Yudao's confidant. Now, without saying anything, he was silenced by Di Yudao. Xing Danqing sneered, Dean Zhai, do you think we are fools? Do you think you can deceive us? I can tell you this, if you don't give me an explanation for what happened today, our Phoenix Sky Academy will definitely not let this matter rest. Not to mention Xing Danqing, even the college chiefs of the various faculties were livid. Chief Zhai, it's because we trust you that we recommended you to be the college chief of the Starry School. But now, you actually dared to do such a thing to innocent students. We definitely won't let this matter rest. Meng Baichuan said coldly, Dean Zhai said that everything here has nothing to do with you. Fine, let's investigate this thoroughly. We must get to the bottom of this. During this period of time, I would like to ask Dean Zhai to temporarily suspend his position as dean. Di Yudao gritted his teeth so hard that his teeth made cracking sounds. He wanted to tear the people of the Alcade branch and Suiluan into pieces. At that moment, he was absolutely sure that Suiluan and the Alcade branch were in cahoots. They had set up this trap to consign themselves to eternal damnation. However, would he, Diyu Dao, admit defeat so easily? Chapter 1663. It's the demonic cultivator who snuck into the school. He wanted to collude with the people from the Alcade branch to frame me and even harm all the students and teachers in the school. If you don't believe me, follow me. Diyu Dao quickly brought Xing Danqing and the others to the secret room. Feeling the remaining demonic aura in the room, Xing Danqing and the others' expressions changed. It's indeed the aura of a demonic cultivator. On the cultivation continent, there weren't many demonic cultivators. They usually hid in remote corners. These demonic cultivators were usually unreasonable and cruel. They didn't care about worldly ethics and did whatever they wanted. However, demonic cultivators usually cultivated in a different way. Their early stages were much smoother than normal cultivators. As a result, they were usually very powerful. As long as a demonic cultivator appeared, it could bring about great suffering and countless deaths. Therefore, in the eyes of ordinary people and orthodox cultivators, evil demonic cultivators should be killed. As long as they met one, they must gather all their peers and eliminate them. Diyu Dao said righteously, I felt the aura of a demonic cultivator and rushed back. I didn't expect him to escape. But I've seen his true face. Who is it? Diyu Dao put his hands behind his back and said coldly, It's Suiluan, the vice college chief of the Starry School. He has been hiding his demonic cultivator identity and lurked in the Starry School to harm innocent students and cultivate the demonic palace for him. He Shan must be his lackey. Diyu Dao's words naturally had many loopholes. However, Xing Danqing and the others had already been stunned by the news of Suiluan being a demonic cultivator. They were completely confused. Vice College Chief Su is really a demonic cultivator? Is there a mistake somewhere? Where is the demonic cultivator now? Diyu Dao calmed down and glanced at Yun Ruhan and the others coldly. I can feel that the demonic cultivator stole the treasure of the Starry School and went to the Alcade branch. Hearing this, Yun Ruhan and the others frowned. It seemed that Diyu Dao was going to make a false accusation. Only Chu Moli was deep in thought, his lips curling into a faint smile. Thinking about what his junior sister had told him about the abnormal situation of the Yaoguang branch, he felt that the following show would be very exciting. Thus, when Diyu Dao proposed to search the Alcade branch, Chu Moli stopped the fellow disciples who wanted to object, and said slowly, if you want to search the Alcade branch, that's not a problem. However, it's not the first time that the Alcade branch has been framed. This time, if some people say that the wind is the rain and want to use us as scapegoats. Before he could finish, Meng Baichuan patted his chest and said, don't worry. Do you think we don't know whether the people of the Alcade branch are innocent or not? The disappearance of the students had already happened before you guys arrived. This matter definitely has nothing to do with you guys. Xing Danqing took the opportunity to say, if there's really someone in the Starry School who can't tolerate you, you're welcome to join the Fengtian School. Chu Moli glanced at Diyu Dao with a faint smile. Also, this is a separate matter. I heard that Suiluan, the vice college chief, only came to the Starry School a few years ago. Even if he's really a demonic cultivator, I've looked through the school's history and found that the disappearance of students from the outer school has been happening for more than 10 years. Could it be that Suiluan has the ability to control everything in the Starry School from thousands of miles away? Chapter 1664. Furthermore, the ruthlessness and darkness in his heart were slowly ignited by the demonic flames. Bang! Suiluan slapped Diyu Dao with his palm and sent him flying. He fell to the ground, but his eyes were not on Suiluan, but the light behind him that was getting brighter and brighter. What are you waiting for? Du Dao roared. Suiluan is a demonic cultivator. He's the one who captured innocent students to conduct inhumane experiments. Behind him is the demon-gathering matrix. If he succeeds, the entire starry school will be finished. Quick, kill him. Destroy the matrix behind him. Suiluan sneered. Du Dao, you should know better than anyone what matrix is behind me. Du Dao panicked even more when he heard him. He shouted again, have you forgotten that everyone has a responsibility to kill demonic cultivators? Hearing Du Dao's words and Suiluan's real identity as a demonic cultivator, Xing Danqing and Meng Baichuan all attacked Suiluan despite their doubts. Just as Du Dao said, killing demonic cultivators was the responsibility of all orthodox cultivators. With the addition of Xing Danqing and Meng Baichuan, two nascent soul cultivators, and the other school deans who were all at the peak of the Golden Core realm, Suiluan was in a difficult situation. All of a sudden, Suiluan found himself in a difficult situation, and was no longer as relaxed as when he was dealing with Du Dao. Seeing that Suiluan was being held up by Xing Danqing and Meng Baichuan, Du Dao's eyes flashed with malice. He quickly rushed towards the matrix on the cliff. Seeing the light on the matrix and the vague figure behind it, Du Dao's expression was complicated. A complicated look flashed across Du Dao's face. He suddenly raised his sword and slashed at the glyph array. Du Dao would rather destroy what belonged to him than let others have it. Seeing that the falling sword was about to destroy the matrix, a figure suddenly appeared and blocked in front of the matrix. Puff! Suiluan spat out a mouthful of blood. His back was also slashed by Du Dao's sword, leaving a deep wound. Everyone was stunned by the scene. Especially Meng Baichuan and Xing Danqing. Although Suiluan was exhausted and battered by the dozen of them surrounding him, it was impossible for them to take him down in a short period of time. He was secretly shocked by the strength of the demonic cultivators. All of a sudden, Suiluan seemed to have discovered something, and his expression changed greatly. It completely disregarded their attacks and turned around to devour the creatures behind it. He threw himself at the cliff. Xing Danqing's palm landed on Suiluan's back. This palm strike contained 100% of his strength. It could be imagined how severe Suiluan's injuries would be if he were to receive this palm strike. But that was not enough. He suffered such heavy injuries, yet he didn't even try to protect himself. Instead, he used all of his spiritual energy and demonic chi to cover the stone wall. Du Dao's sword had also forcefully struck him. Blood stained the man's clothes. His neatly combed long hair hung loosely, contrasting with his pale, blood-stained face. The demonic charm and mysteriousness that belonged to a demonic cultivator had disappeared, replaced by a clean, clear, delicate and pitiful frailty. When Meng Baichuan saw this face, his mind suddenly flashed. Lungsu. You are Lungsu. Suiluan slowly raised his head and met his eyes. A weak smile appeared on his lips. Meng Baichuan was even more incredulous. How did you become a demonic cultivator? How can you be worthy of Yaoguang's nurturing? Chapter 1665. Furthermore, the ruthlessness and darkness in his heart were slowly ignited by the demonic flames. Bang! Suiluan slapped Du Dao with his palm and sent him flying. He fell to the ground, not looking at Suiluan, but at the light behind him that was getting brighter and brighter. What are you waiting for? Du Dao roared. Suiluan is a demonic cultivator. He's the one who captured innocent students for inhumane experiments. Behind him is the demon-gathering matrix. If he succeeds, the entire starry school will be finished. Quick, Kill him. Destroy the matrix behind him. Su Yiluan sneered. Du Dao, you should know better than anyone what matrix is behind me. Du Dao panicked even more after hearing his words. He shouted again, have you forgotten that it's everyone's responsibility to kill a demonic cultivator? Hearing Du Dao's words and Su Yiluan's real identity as a demonic cultivator, Xing Danqing and Meng Baichuan all attacked Su Yiluan despite their doubts. Just like what Du Dao said, killing a demonic cultivator was the responsibility of all orthodox cultivators. With the addition of Xing Danqing and Meng Baichuan, two nascent soul cultivators, and the other school chiefs who were all at the peak of the Golden Elixir realm, Su Yiluan was in a difficult situation. All of a sudden, Su Yiluan found himself in a difficult situation, and was no longer as relaxed as when he was dealing with Du Dao. Seeing that Su Yiluan was being held up by Xing Danqing and Meng Baichuan, a malicious light flashed in Du Dao's eyes. He quickly rushed towards the matrix on the cliff. Seeing the light on the matrix and the vague figure behind it, Du Dao's expression was complicated. A complicated look flashed across Du Dao's face. He suddenly raised his sword and slashed at the glyph array. He would rather destroy what belonged to him than let others have it. Seeing that the falling sword was about to destroy the matrix, a figure suddenly appeared and blocked in front of the matrix. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out of Su Yiluan's mouth. His back had also been slashed by Du Dao's sword. Everyone was stunned by the scene. Especially Meng Baichuan and Xing Danqing. Although Su Yiluan was exhausted and battered by the dozen of them surrounding him, it was impossible for them to take him down in a short period of time. He was secretly shocked by the strength of the demonic cultivators. All of a sudden, Su Yiluan seemed to have discovered something, and his expression changed dramatically. Completely ignoring their attacks, he turned around and pounced towards the cliff behind him. Xing Danqing's palm landed on Su Yiluan's back. This palm strike contained 100% of his strength. It could be imagined how severe Su Yiluan's injuries would be if he were to receive this palm strike. But that was not enough. He suffered such heavy injuries, yet he didn't even try to protect himself. Instead, he used all of his spiritual energy and demonic chi to cover the stone wall. Du Dao's sword had also forcefully struck him. Blood stained the man's clothes. His neatly combed long hair hung loosely, contrasting with his pale, blood-stained face. The demonic charm and mysteriousness that belonged to a demonic cultivator had disappeared, replaced by a clean, clear, delicate and pitiful frailty. When Meng Baichuan saw this face, his mind suddenly flashed. Yi Lungsu. You are Yi Lungsu. Su Yiluan slowly raised his head and met his eyes. A weak smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Meng Baichuan was even more incredulous. How did you become a demonic cultivator? Are you worthy of Yaoguang's nurturing back then? Chapter 1666. Su Yiluan sneered. I should be the one asking you that. How can you face Yaoguang if you're with the culprit who harmed her? Meng Baichuan, what harm Yaoguang? Didn't junior sister Yaoguang travel the world? Without waiting for Su Yiluan to speak, Du Dao had already leapt into the air and a powerful attack landed on Su Yiluan. Meng Baichuan, are you stupid? How can you believe the words of a demonic cultivator? Su Yiluan, I don't care who you are. But you're a demonic cultivator, and everyone has the right to kill you. Now that you're a nun in my starry school, I will not allow you to live. The boundless spirit energy attack, mixed with the powerful lightning energy, ruthlessly landed on Su Yiluan's body. Su Yiluan spat out another mouthful of blood and slowly knelt down. The demonic chi on his body had almost completely dissipated. Du Dao's sword took the opportunity to slash at the matrix behind him. However, in the next moment, Suiluan, who should not have been able to get up, suddenly stood up and stood firmly in front of the matrix on the stone wall. Around his body, a pure black devil chi was released, forming a barrier. However, it was not protecting him, but the huge matrix on the stone wall. Diyudeo's sword slashed at him again and again. Every slash left a bone-deep wound on his body. If not for his demonic chi's self-healing and defensive abilities, his limbs and head would have been chopped off by Diyudao. With every second that the demonic chi lingered, his face became paler and paler. His already thin body swayed as if he would collapse at any moment. However, even though he was covered in wounds, even though he was on the verge of death, he still stood firmly in front of the stone wall, not allowing Diyudeo's sword to harm the matrix at all. Just a little more time, and the formation would be completed. Yaoguang, wait for me. Just a little bit more. Soon, I'll be done soon. At the side, Yun Ruhan and the others could not help but avert their eyes when they saw this. He's burning his demonic body, Chu Moli sighed. Once his demonic body burns out, he'll die. Do you really believe that the formation behind him is a demon gathering formation? It was not easy to set up the demon gathering formation, but if the person who set up the formation died, what use would it be, no matter how much demonic energy was gathered? All righteous cultivators were taught that devil cultivators were heinous and unforgivable. However, the people of the Xiaoyao sect had always been rebellious. They were free and unrestrained, but they didn't know the difference between good and evil. They only knew good and evil. In their eyes, Diyudao was definitely not a good person. Compared to Suiluan, who was a devil cultivator, they felt that Diyudao was more deranged, a devil that was worse than beasts. Yun Ruhan sighed softly. I don't think it's a demon gathering array either, but they won't believe me, and they can't afford to take the risk. In the eyes of righteous Dao cultivators, the majority of devil cultivators were unreasonable, cruel, and tyrannical. What if this really was a demon gathering array? What if Suiluan was really harming the Starry School students? No one could afford to pay the price of letting a fiendish cultivator go. Therefore, even if Meng Baichuan had doubts about Suiluan's identity, even if the people of the Xiaoyao sect could not bear to see it, they could only watch. However, Xiao Bao suddenly frowned and said in a cold voice, "There's the sound of a guqin." Guqin. Everyone was stunned. Is little junior sister back? It's not mother. Xiao Bao shook his head without hesitation. But it's as nice as mother's. Chapter 1667. He paused and said with some confusion, that zither sound seems to be saying something, but little Bao doesn't understand. The people of the Xiaoyao school looked at each other. Did you hear the zither music that Xiao Bao was talking about? No. I didn't hear it either. Xiao Bao, did you hear it wrong? Xiao Bao tilted his little head and frowned, but didn't say anything. He really did hear the sound of the zither, and it became more and more urgent, more and more panicked, as if he was in a hurry to tell something, to pray for something. However, Xiao Bao could not understand the meaning of the zither music, so he was helpless. It would be great if Nyangqin was here. Mother must be able to understand what this zither music is saying. Suiluan's body grew weaker and weaker. Even his figure became more and more blurry, as if he would collapse at any moment. However, the talisman formation behind him was firmly protected by him and was not damaged in the slightest. A trace of malevolence and impatience flashed across Diyudeo's face, and he gave a look to his confidant behind him. Suiluan was preparing to receive Diyudeo's next wave of attacks. Suddenly, he felt two figures rushing towards him. Since the start of the battle, no one had dared to approach Suiluan. This was because, to ordinary cultivators, the devilish aura on his body was like a scorching flame, or as cold as 10,000-year-old profound ice. If an ordinary cultivator were to come into contact with even a little bit of it, they would suffer unbearable pain and would need at least a year and a half to dissolve it. However, these two golden core cultivators didn't seem to be afraid of the demonic chi on his body at all and directly threw him to the ground. Suiluan's body was already riddled with holes and was extremely weak. He was only holding on by relying on demonic energy. Let alone two golden core cultivators, even a normal body tempering cultivator would be able to send him flying with a single kick. He raised his head in horror and saw that the two golden core cultivators were smiling slyly at him. They weren't afraid of the devil chi at all. What kind of cultivator wouldn't be afraid of devil chi? Naturally, it could only be someone with the same devilish aura. However, at this moment, Suiluan had no time to think about why Du Dao would have someone with demonic chi around him. He abruptly turned his head towards the direction of the stone wall. At this time, Du Dao had already raised the sword in his hand and slashed at the stone wall. With a rumbling sound, the rock wall was smashed into pieces. After the dust settled, the light that was originally lit up was slowly extinguished. Suiluan stared at this scene. He felt that the little bit of hope in his heart, the little bit of light, was about to be extinguished. Yao Guang. That heart-wrenching roar was like the cry of a cuckoo gazing at the emperor, and it was extremely painful. Two streams of bloody tears flowed down from Suiluan's eyes. Ignoring his wounded and powerless body, he desperately crawled towards the shattered stone wall and the disappearing glyph formation. Yao Guang. Al-Qaed. Al-Qaed. Their cries were filled with grief and heartache. Even the onlookers were wary and suspicious of the demonic cultivators. When she saw this scene, she couldn't bear it and tears filled her eyes. Meng Baichuan and the other branch deans were even more shocked. Why is he summoning Yao Guang? Didn't junior sister Yao Guang go to roam the world? Du Dao looked at the extinguished light on the stone wall and let out a long sigh of relief. Then he stared at the stone wall, as if looking through it to see something. His eyes were filled with resentment, unwillingness, and jealousy. Al-Qaed. Al-Qaed. You forced me to do all of this. Chapter 1668. I clearly love you so much, why do you have to choose someone else? If you had accepted me, you would be the headmaster's wife right now. Glory, splendor, wealth, power and status, what wouldn't you have? Now that you've ended up in this state, it's all your own doing. Suddenly, Du Dao abruptly turns to look at Suiluan, his eyes bursting with intense hatred. It's this person. It's this man who took away Yao Guang's heart, turning himself into a laughingstock for everyone. Du Dao originally thought that this person had died decades ago. He didn't expect that he would actually struggle on while at death's door and survive. Today, he will settle old and new enmity together. He must dismember his body into 10,000 pieces. Du Dao suddenly raises the sword in his hand and ruthlessly slashes at Suiluan's feet. At this time, the demonic energy around Suiluan's body has already dispersed. With this slash, he will no longer be able to resist Du Dao's attack. He will completely become a fish on the chopping block. However, at this time, a melodious sound of a zither suddenly resounds in the air. Almost at the same time, hundreds of zither sounds transform into swords, shooting straight towards Du Dao. Du Dao is caught off guard, and the sound blade actually cuts a hole in his clothes. He repeatedly retreats, barely dodging the attack. Who is it? Du Dao shouts, in the end, who hurt me? Get out here. In the dark night, a clear and melodious female voice leisurely rings out, my apologies, Headmaster Zhai. My hand accidentally hurt you, I'm really sorry. Under the moonlight, a young girl dressed in blue slowly walks over, holding a black zither in her hand. Her jet-black hair gently sways with the night wind, from time to time covering half of her flawless white jade face, and from time to time revealing that unparalleled beauty. Everyone present can't help but stare blankly, their faces revealing amazement and infatuation. The young girl comes treading on the moonlight, beautiful and elegant, like the most beautiful fairy, and also like an ethereal banished immortal. With just a glance, it can even take away people's breath and souls. Enchanting. A crisp, childish voice breaks the silence. The small figure rushes into Mayan's embrace like a small cannonball, tightly hugging her thigh. On her raised little head, a pair of big, clear, sapphire-like eyes stared unblinkingly at Mayan. Her eyes were filled with longing and attachment. Although he had only been separated from his mother for a few hours, he still missed her very much. Mu Yan strokes Xiao Bao's head, then crouches down to kiss her son's soft little face. Did my baby miss Enchanting? Xiao Bao blushed and buried his head in her arms. Yes, he said in a low voice. Xiao Bao missed his mother so much. Xiao Bao didn't want to leave his mother for even a moment. Jun Mayan. Diyu Dao suddenly bellows, what are you doing? Do you want to disobey your master and protect a demonic cultivator? Mu Yan releases Xiao Bao and signals him to return to Yun Ruhan's side. Unfortunately, Xiao Bao was unwilling to leave his mother. He grabbed her sleeve and refused to let go, vowing to be a little tail. Mu Yan smiled and rubbed her son's head. She let him be and slowly walked to Suiluan's side and sat down cross-legged. I was entrusted by someone to save someone. Mu Yan looked at Suiluan, who was riddled with scars. She suddenly raised her hand and took out a talisman, pressing it on his body. This talisman is called Elemental Talisman. As the name suggests, it can gather the vitality needed by living beings. What cultivators need is spiritual energy. What demonic cultivators need is devil energy. Chapter 1669. There's also that demonic thing that's neither human nor ghost, it needs demonic energy. In short, the elemental gathering talisman can gather all kinds of elemental energy between heaven and earth and turn it into living beings' use. As the elemental gathering talisman burns on Suiluan's body, his body that was on the verge of collapse slowly solidifies. Even the several fatal wounds on his body gradually begin to heal. But it's only a moment before the elemental gathering talisman burns out. Suiluan's injuries have only recovered by less than 10%, barely enough to preserve his life. Mu Yan can't help but shake her head. This elemental gathering talisman is really not easy to draw. It's not easy to draw one, but it can only display this little effect. However, everyone at the scene was stunned. What kind of talisman is this? It can actually gather elemental energy. Logically speaking, cultivators only have spiritual power. How can they draw talismans that can gather demonic energy? Diyu Dao suddenly comes to his senses and angrily shouts, Jun Mu Yan, you're also a demonic cultivator. Could it be that you're Suiluan's accomplice? As soon as these words come out, the people of the Xiaoyao school who were watching with folded arms can't take it anymore. Old fart, who are you saying is a demonic cultivator's accomplice? Ling Yuma holds her long saber horizontally and stands beside Mu Yan. She bluntly curses, first clearly tell us how many innocent lives have been harmed in the secret room under your study. Luo Yu, I think that some people, even if they don't look like demonic cultivators, are actually much more ruthless than real demonic cultivators. Diyu Dao angrily points at Suiluan, who was saved by Mu Yan. If she isn't a demonic cultivator, how could she gather demonic energy for Suiluan? Chu Moli unhurriedly says, then why don't Dean Zhai tell us first, why aren't your two trusted subordinates afraid of demonic energy? I've heard that only people who possess devilish qi are able to resist devilish qi. Chu Moli's words make everyone's gazes uniformly look at Diyu Dao's two trusted subordinates. Everyone's eyes reveal a suspicious light. Meng Baichuan and Xing Danqing are two nascent soul cultivators. They have the ability to resist demonic energy. But how can two trifling third-rank gold core cultivators have the ability to resist Su Iluan's demonic energy without suffering a backlash? The two golden core cultivators panicked and looked at Di Yudao for help. Di Yudao's heart thumps, and he roars loudly, "Don't try to change the subject, you're shielding that witch Jun Mayan." Bah! Luo Yu spat, "Di Yudao, you're so shameless. You don't need to explain when your own people have problems, and you still have the cheek to say that we are changing the topic. Do you really think everyone here is an idiot?" Chu Moli also said unhurriedly, "As for why my little junior sister is able to gather demonic energy, that's because my little junior sister's true identity is the Azure Cloud's sex master, Yi Liangqin. Since ancient times, have you ever seen a talisman master become the champion of the flourishing heavenly light finals? Since my junior sister has such a title, she naturally has some extraordinary means. What's so strange about that?" Meng Baichuan and the others sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard that Mu Yan's true identity was the Lord of Clear Sky, Yi Liangqin. Although he already had his suspicions. However, when he heard Chu Moli reveal his identity, he was still shocked and excited. When he saw the Azure Cloud Command Medallion that Mu Yan took out, he had no doubts at all. Di Yudao still wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Xing Danqing mockingly, "Dean Zhai, have you gone senile? Don't you know that as long as a devil cultivator or someone related to a devil cultivator enters the soaring sky, Linglong, and Nirvana pagodas, they would be directly killed by the artifact spirits of the pagodas? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.